headlines of our editions today. The President of the Republic received the UNPA Deputy Executive Director. On continental news, Maduro announced early legislative elections. That were our top stories, and now let's get to the detail. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, received today in the middle of the afternoon Mr. Drije Wardufa, Deputy Executive Director of the United Nations Populations Fund, which carries out a 24-hour working visit to Djibouti as part of a tour of the region. This delegation were introduced to the President of the Republic by Mrs. Mumina Ahmed Hassan, Minister of Women and Family. The state of cooperation between our country and the UNFPA was at the center of the discussions. The interview were then extended to the partnership between the two parties in the key areas such as the inclusion of women in the political, economic and social spheres, the fight against female genital mutilations, protections and promotion of children's rights. During a statement made to the press after this audience with the head of state, the executive director of UNFPA reported his full satisfactions with the collaboration his institution had with the Republic of Djibouti. Djibouti brilliantly fulfills all the objectives and program proposed at the UNDFP, he said in sense. Before paying tribute to the President, Guelleh highlighted leadership having established a minimum institutional quota of 25% women's benefit in a parliament. After that, the director executive expressed his satisfactions.
My meeting with His Excellency the President of the Republic of Djibouti was very fruitful. We discussed about how to strengthen gender equality here in Djibouti. Recently, there is a presidential decree that institutionalized community-based mutual, which empowers communities to work together on family planning, empowering economically women and girls and young people, but also addressing gender-based violence, the women's health, monitoring what's happening within a community, and to continuously improve building a relationship with religious and community leaders together to improve the well-being and the health of Djiboutians. There are 42 such centers across Djibouti. I was extremely impressed by the partnership between UNFPA, UN agencies that works on reproductive health, and the Ministry of Women and Families. Her Excellency, the Minister, briefed me this morning the work that is going on together. I need to mention the First Lady of the Republic plays a very important role. For example, in the Djiboutian Women Union, she is a president and she is leading the effort to empower women economically, socially, and politically. This is commendable. And importantly, the creation of a ministry dedicated for women and families is also a good example. It shows, how Djibouti, by empowering girls and women and young people, can strengthen communities, and by strengthening communities can strengthen also Djibouti as a whole. And I am very hopeful we can make tremendous progress towards achieving sustainable development goal if we go with this pace.
In her interview with the press, the Minister of Women and the Family, Mrs. Mumina Ahmed Hassan, who is at the forefront of the fight against genital mutilation among young girls, welcomed this conference for its part, a great initiative. The National Disability Agency organized in collaboration with the State Secretary of Social Affairs and the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources the ceremony of handing over the key to the social housing for the disabled in the Ali Sabih region. Placed under the high patronage of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, the ceremony of handing over the key was an opportunity for 37 beneficiary households to have seen their housing expectations satisfied. These depend household, both adults and children, will now be able to live in an environment conducive to their development. This day is symbolic because it's a question of answering the demand in housing of the most vulnerable population, but also it is a question for the ENPH of advantage to cities and place for the access to the housing of a part of the population that still remain, and this first action is all the more symbolic because these social housing units have been designed to guarantee better accessibility for people with disabilities. The prefect of the region of Ali Sabih, Mr. Muhammad Waber Yasoui, say, and the regional council, Mr. Omar Ahmed, both participate. The prefects say this first wave of the distribution of social housing will continue later in other regions of the country, taking into account the importance of access to housing and more particularly the disabled. He reminded in his words that the ultimate goal we want to achieve in the Republic of Djibouti to all persons with disabilities, including children and their family, live in the just dignity of equal rights and opportunity and can fully realize their potentials. A training workshop on post-disaster needs assessment and the recovery framework opened this morning at the People's Palace. This workshop, organized by the Minister of the Interior with the support of IGAD, the European Union, as well as the World Bank, aimed to set up specialized teams capable of carrying out needs assessment after a disaster. This event, which will last for 4 days, will be used to train a group of national experts on the method of assessing damage, losses, and needs assessment for post-disaster reconstructions. The director of the Executive Secretariat of Risk and Disaster Management, Mr. Mohammed Ahmed Madar, said in his words that this workshop will train the executive and sectorial ministries, national institutions, as well as local community, defense and civil bodies and the civil society. Further on, the director reminded that the government concerned in the situation tends to be preventive and very well prepared to face possible disaster. The president of the Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Yusuf Musa Dawali, was elected by an overwhelming majority to the head of the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry for a 2-year term in a new elections in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. He was elected to replace Nana from Ghana, whose term of office expired Friday's successful elections was fiercely contested, with 4 leaders of the African Chamber of Commerce competing for the presidency. Elected members of the executive board, including Malako and Fiman Toure, as well as Olivier Petstani. The election of Mr. Yusuf Musa Dawali to the presidency of the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry will be a visibility for the Djiboutian training operators and will have a positive impact for the economic integration of Djibouti to the economics of the African continent. Executive Director Kibur Guinea used a statement Friday night stating that the new management had taken over after the announcement of the election's results. The famous Djiboutian singer Awale Aden was on stage for the first time in front of his audience. Many listened to the ledge the evening of January 31. Some discovered for the first time on stage in Djibouti. Mr. Awale did not fail to break the party room of the ledge, accompanied by his musicians. He interpreted his many new tubes and patriotic songs composed after he returned to his native countries. The room was crowded and the audience was delighted by taking her the favorite song of Djibouti stars And now let's move on continental news. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced on Saturday that his country is suspending its participating in nuclear disarmament treaty in response to the U.S. suspension that came into force on the same day. Our American partners have announced that they are suspending their participation in the agreement, and we are suspending it in turn, said Putin, the president of Russia, for the negotiation on disarmament with the United States. The head of state said, quote, by Russian news agencies, the United States announced Friday its withdrawal from the U.S.-Washington Treaty in 1987 during the Cold War, which abolished the use of land-based missiles with a range of 500 to 5,500 kilometers, and that they accused the United States of America of Russia to rape. Here we arrive at the end of this news today. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.